Okay, uh, now we're on to the next chapter here, which is the process of going into the code and resolving issues with the legacy type of Java development and move it into the modern era here. And you can see that the tool analysis will give us some hints in terms of what's wrong, not only in the report, but because I have this button pressed down here and I can look at the source code, I can see that I think that's orange. I'm not real good at colors, but there's the startup listener, for example, and it's got some hints in terms of things that are wrong. If I click on this, I'll see that it's highlighted this WebLogic application lifecycle event. And the reason for that is this is a proprietary interface that doesn't carry over into open source based platforms or the most modern platforms. And it's been in use for good reasons. People can tie the post-startup or pre-shutdown events that they want to handle with this kind of a framework, but that can be done now with RMIs and singletons. RMIs are remote method invocation. So we don't need or want it now. If take a look at the recommendations, it'll say, hey, get rid of that. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll open this, and I guess it's saying, hey, it's already opened. And I've got a replacement block of code here. The guide tells us why and how to do this, but the fastest way is to go ahead and copy this code content, put it in here, and see if it changes anything. Now, I don't have to hit save. Control Z will actually undo any changes I made that I don't want. So the whole idea of going back in time isn't from versions, but rather actions, control Z. So now let's test the build to see if the application will build with these code differences I just put in there. I'm going to open up another terminal, so I have a clean terminal. And Maven's going to go through this code and handle the build. Yeah, that's good news. We got a successful build, which is just what we wanted to see. Oh, by the way, um, now that we've made this change to this code, we can see that there is a delta here from change control. So Git is saying there's something different about that file. If I double click, I'll see on the left things I removed. On the right, the packages now, things that have been added. So you get a really clear depiction on where you're at with fixing the file. Go back here. Now the logging issues need to be fixed as well. In the order service message destination beans, that file has problems, and particularly with the logging format. I'm going to copy this, go back here to the MDB, order service MDB, and I'm going to paste over the top of that. And I know it took that because there it is, there's a different file or an incremental count. And I can see you didn't have to do a lot to replace those loggers. And we'll try a build again. I can use the same command and see if Maven can can still build this without any issues. Perfect. And it goes into some detail in terms of how message-driven beans work differently now, and then we can take a look at the issues that we'll have to deal with in terms of Jindy lookup um, and various other WebLogic only sort of situation. And we can remove the WebLogic EJB descriptors here in order to eliminate those concerns. So there's a WebLogic EJB jar in the web section here. Delete that. They also tell us that we can just get rid of this WebLogic folder here. Inventory notification should have its change applied here. Right there. I know I'd find it. I'll paste over that. I'll double click to see if I've got a diff file for it. Close some of these other. Okay. Oh, I need to have that highlighted. I'm just going to delete that code and put it back in. Make sure I've got it. Okay, it shows as modified, so we're good to go with that. And we need to get rid of a dependency in the project file for the JavaX RMI. There it is. Okay. And now it's time to test the build. Very good. And we'll rerun the report to see if we've made some progress. We seem to have. Okay, great news. We got 0 story points left. If I take a look in here, we'll see the whole mandatory selection is gone in terms of bar chart. It's a 0, 0. Potential is gone. Plenty of options. Um, we're not going to worry about those today. If you have extra time, feel free to go back and take a look at the optionals. So don't know anyone that has extra time these days. Now we're going to add a profile header to the project file, the POM file, because we want to be able to build this code now, not only standalone, but let's build it so that it can go into OpenShift as a hosting platform. So the trick there, go to that POM file, and there's actually a click here if you want to click here, placeholder, and I've got project profile build in the hierarchy. Yeah, good. This matches up. Yep. Project profile. Profile is profile build. Okay, I'm happy with that. And we'll create the OpenShift project. So I'm logged into OpenShift, and I'll go into the developer view, and you'll have a way in which you can specify that you want to use this. I need to create a project, and this my user 34 cool store dev. Cool store is the application we're dealing with. If we go back to the instructions, it suggests that we call it this as a display name. And that name, user 34 cool store dev, is very important because we'll be linking projects together, and it'll use that name. Okay, so now we're going to deploy the monolith. We're going to do that from the service catalog because we've created an entry for that. One of the ways in which you can deploy within OpenShift Kubernetes is to just go ahead and go into topology view as a developer. Your developer persona instead of administrator. Administrator is more of here's what's running, here are the resources, and this is more of a here's how you want to deploy it and deal with the source. So we're going to go from catalog. We're going to look for cool store. Yeah, I should have stopped when I was ahead. We have to make sure if you don't see it, it could be that something's clicked that shouldn't be clicked. We should unclick any of the filters. And we want the binary build. We'll instantiate that. I'm user 34. Create. And we're going to see this deploy a database. I'll click on that deployment. And yep, you can see there's a cool store PostgreSQL pod running. And it was light, it was empty in terms of rings like this, light, medium, and now dark blue indicating it's full on running. And you could actually take a look at the logs and see, yep, there's Postgres. It's running and it's waiting to process transactions. Now, beyond just deploying that, we're going to deploy the monolith from the command line interface. Now, we're logged in to the web UI here, but we need to log in here, log into OpenShift so that from our command line down here in our IDE, we'll have access to committing things to OpenShift. All right. That terminal will be consumed by that. It'll run in the foreground, but if I go OC, who am I? If I see user 34, I'm logged in, and I see user 34. So that's good. And we should make sure we are in the proper project space. I'm not. I'm in book info. See user 34. cool store-dev. Excellent. And now, if we apply some labeling at the command line here, it'll put the elephant onto this icon for the database. It'll give us the code designation as well for JBoss. So we'll run this labeling process. And yep, there we go. Now we haven't deployed the application code yet here, so that business logic isn't running at this point. And what we need to do there is do a build with the new settings in the POM file that make it aware of OpenShift. The POM file has an error that I need to fix. I'm going to delete what we put in here. Actually, the best bet is going to be to do Control-Z, Control-Z. Okay. Go back to our instructions. It's better for me to copy this. Actually, it wasn't that long ago. Okay, that built. And that yielded a root war file. So I built a binary object to be deployed. And when we put it into OpenShift, what we'll do is combine that binary object onto a base image from the OpenShift registry. It's a caching registry for container images. And then we'll build the result. Okay. So we're doing a build of something called Cool Store, and we're taking the monolith root war, and it's then putting this build into OpenShift and uploaded it. And if we take a look, we now see this activity here, that there's a build running. I'll click on this, so now we can see it. If we want to see what's happening in that build, we can take a look at the logs. And if you look in the logs, you'll see that it got the root var of more piped in, and then it copied the blobs into an image destination, stored the signatures. Then it did some build work on it, uploaded source, changed users, and then ran an assemble script, which put it all together, taking that temp root.war file and putting it where it belongs in deployments. When it was all done, putting this together, pushed the image into the registry. So the completed, specifically modified image to contain that latest binary is pushed into the registry. If I can go back and look here, there's now a deployment being done. There's a pod. It's not dark blue yet, so it's not done. But if I view the logs there, yeah, I'm seeing Java startup. And once that log stops, it's probably because it's just about fully deployed. Here we go, and I can see the application by clicking on this URL, and there it is. This is a cool stuff store, and have the different objects we can buy. If you need Red Hat socks, this is the place to get them, or a Corkus water bottle. And we'll talk about what Corkus is later on. But there's 256 in stock, or 512 of these, 736 of those. So not only do we have a catalog, but we have a tie into a back-end inventory. And that is the end of this chapter.